Coffeezilla, I normally like a lot of your stuff, but on this occasion, I think you overstepped the mark. Oh, man. So as you guys know, I don't normally partake in this YouTube politics and drama. But since the FTX collapse, we've had a number of people coming out and targeting crypto influencers for the collapse and sponsorship of FTX. In this video, I'm going to react to a really popular video from Coffeezilla, who's done some amazing work in the past. I've liked a lot of his content, but on this occasion, I don't think he's hit the money on the head, and I want to cover off some of the points as we walk through his video. Let's get straight into it.
Okay, the guy you see next to me is the most generous billionaire in the world, and I found him.
The most generous billionaire ever, where you can get 10% off on your trading fees.
Fees are bad. Fees are very bad. But FTX, there are no fees whatsoever.
And if you sign up with our link,
Signing up using my link.
There are referral links. If you use my link below and the code name Tom Nash.
Oh, stop it, please. You guys are embarrassing yourselves. Listen, what a week it has been for financial influencers. Their reputations have just been going down the toilet. People who promoted absolute garbage companies like FTX US and Blockfi for millions of dollars today.
Let's just pause right there, guys. Let's just pause right there. Absolute garbage company. So straight off the bat here, and this is one of my biggest complaints with the investigative journalism that Coffeezilla's doing here. He comes out and claims that it's garbage company. Now, in hindsight, when we look at it, we see there's a bunch of fraud going on, and we understand what has happened. This was not clear more than 5 days ago. So for him to come out and say that it was, clearly a garbage company. This was the #2 trading exchange by volume in the world, right? You can argue for some of the smaller exchanges. We'll come on to that in a bit. But for this, it was #2 traded exchange volume in the world, and you're just calling it a garbage company. Come on, you're setting the narrative here. You know what you're doing.
We're finally seeing the results, as both of those companies are basically bankrupt. And so today I'm calling out all the influencers who promoted it, some of whom I know, and I'm getting third wave embarrassment from it. I know it's mind-bendingly stupid to imagine that people actually listen to YouTubers for financial advice, but we all know they do. That's why they get offered these insane financial deals. And these people had a responsibility to their fans, and they blew it. So I want to talk about...
Whoa. So what's the responsibility here? Let's understand this. Because I guess, look, the reality is the crypto sponsorship space is getting a lot of stick. I know BitBoy made a video on this, and he kind of tried to summarize what is right and what is wrong. And ultimately, look, you've got to do right by your audience. That's important. But one thing I will not allow is for people, and I can say this because none of our sponsorships here have got anybody into trouble, thank God, right? But they can, right? And they can. And this is where I find this quite disingenuous, because the reality is you put links in the description, you pick sponsors, you share what you're doing. So the exchanges that I'm using are exchanges which I believe I use. Therefore, I've got funds in them. So clearly I believe in them. But that doesn't mean you can just pass on any accountability for doing your own research. It just doesn't make sense, right? It's like Tom Brady was a sponsor of FTX. Right? And people are signing up to FTX because of that piece of marketing. Does that now mean he's got responsibility for all the people who signed up to FTX? Doesn't make sense. You've got to think this one through.
Because it's a pretty big scandal, and it involves a lot of people. I know some of them I've even done.
Oh, and just coming back to that point where he says it's a garbage company, it shows his lack of understanding of what happened. It shows that he doesn't actually know what happened, because there was nothing wrong with FTX fundamentally. The issue was Sam Bankman-Fried, his market maker, Alameda, which was losing money after the Terra collapse, and then he took customer funds from FTX, which was trading solvent, and he lent it across. So come on, there's nothing wrong with the exchange, which is what people were sharing the sponsorships for.
Collapse with. And just honestly, it's crazy how many of the biggest financial channels took deals promoting this garbage. And honestly, none of y'all are getting off the hook today. It's smoke for all of y'all. If you do the crime, you get the screen time. I don't care who you are. So I kind of showed a bit of it at the beginning of this video, but it was incredible to me as I looked through the archives, just how many people got bought out by FTX US. And let's face facts. The biggest reason for that is money. I asked around, the sponsorship deals were absurd. I know a guy, much smaller channel than me, making $500,000 a year, $50K a month just to promote FTX US. So I know the bigger guys were getting much more. Some of them probably deals were in the millions. So obviously that's a big reason. A lot of them get it, but I don't think that's the only reason, because I think that'd be honestly too easy to say, oh, they were just greedy, that's why they did this. I actually think it's worse than that. I talked to a lot of these guys and they were fooled. That's the scariest part. So many of these experts who are giving you guys advice totally bought into this Sam.
This is so disingenuous. He's basically saying that I know what happened, right? I knew this. How did you get forward? What are you talking about? If anybody was approached by FTX for a sponsorship deal, you're now saying they were stupid and they should have seen this coming. There were so many big people invested. We're talking Galaxy Digital. We're talking Sequoia Capital. We're talking, there's so many different people. They named the Miami Heat Stadium, right? Tom Brady. This is the second largest exchange in the world. Do you know how many people had exposure or believed in what they were building? You did not know. So I don't know why you're coming out acting like you're taking this moral high ground when you literally didn't know. You're just using this as a target to attack some popular YouTubers so you can get more views. Because ultimately, look, I like investigative journalism if you're doing a good job. But this is just lazy. This is just clickbaiting to target these YouTubers when, in my view, they've not done anything wrong. Now, there are certain areas where you promote certain products where it's obvious. I think Blockfi is a good example, which you'll probably come onto, right? Blockfi is a great example. If you see crazy yields and it just doesn't look right, similar to Celsius, you've got to make that aware. And you've got to not be able to promote those. But an exchange like FTX, come on, where do you draw the line? That's insane.
Character as this genius billionaire, right? The most generous billionaire in the world, who also happened to be paying them handsomely, of course. And I just think it shows how bad the discernment is out there making videos on how to invest. It's alarming how many people fell for this guy's ruse. And it's alarming how easy it was to convince them. Like, some of these guys believed in Sam because he drives a beat-up car.
Sam doesn't need the money to buy a Lamborghini or to buy a Rolex or to impress his friends. In fact, his car is a Toyota Corolla.
You trust the guy more when you see the car he drives. He's worth like $20 billion or something, and he drives like this kind. I don't want to call it beat up. It's like it's an older Toyota. He doesn't even have window tints on a completely stock Toyota.
What does that have to do with anything? What does window tint have to do with Sam's qualifications as an investor? I mean, look, it's now coming out, guys, that at Alameda Research, they were just kind of embarrassingly incompetent. And the evidence was always there, but nobody who was selling FTX bothered to take notice. Apparently, they were too busy looking at the window tint. Here's the CEO of Alameda for.
And again, this is not, this is easy for everybody in hindsight to say, oh, it was so obvious. We're talking, Gary Gensler, the chair of the SEC, Department of Justice. This guy was lobbying for changing government. Some of the biggest crypto hedge funds in the world had huge, multi-$100 million investments in FTX, and they couldn't spot it. And you think a YouTuber has the capacity to figure this out? You've just got to accept sometimes that bad actors will be bad actors, and you're going to get called out. What you cannot do is just find people to scapegoat, because you've got to take the responsibility, right? That's the reality of it.
Example, saying she hardly uses math at her job.
Yeah, absolutely could pull it off without my math degree. Use very little math. Use a lot of elementary school math.
It's just beyond belief. I don't want to pretend like I'm some Nostradamus who saw all this coming and nobody else did, right? I did call out FTX 24 hours before it shut down. I did call FTX.
This is what I mean. He's saying, oh, just by you saying it doesn't mean that's what you're doing. You are acting like Nostradamus. You're putting people on a playing field that's not fair. You're saying that they should have seen this coming, and then you're acting like you're not Nostradamus. You posted it 24 hours ago. I could say to you, why didn't you post this before then? It was clear before then. You should have done a better job, because I know you covered this well after we did, right? So where was your radar going off? It wasn't visible, right? So you're just being completely unfair.
US out well before, 72 hours before it shut down. But I wasn't here with my crystal ball forecasting all of this years in advance.
Exactly.
But that's the reason I didn't promote this. I get the same offers as everyone else, but there's no way I'm going to risk my audience, you guys, in a game of crypto among us. Will this guy turn out to be a psycho in a year or two? Let's find out. No, I'm not going to do that. And it's not because I'm better than anyone. It's just because I know that even though I know a little bit about crypto, I don't know enough to know for sure whether these companies are going to be around. And that's the crazy thing, is I think of everyone we're talking about today, I probably...
Again, just doesn't make any sense. So he's saying, I don't know if crypto is going to be around, but you're making content about crypto. So by you making content about crypto, you're bringing awareness to crypto. By bringing awareness to crypto, guess what people are going to want to do? They're going to want to partake in crypto. If they want to partake in crypto, guess what they're going to have to do? Use an exchange. So what you're saying just makes no sense. You also are driving trade volume to exchanges, probably even more than our channel is. Just because you don't explicitly say it, you're still driving volume to these exchanges. I'm willing to bet people have watched your videos, wanted to trade crypto, and have gone and signed up for FTX, and because of that, they've lost money now. But you saying you don't take any responsibility for that?
The most. I probably have the biggest claim to like crypto expert, and I would never feel comfortable saying that because there's just no way you know. And so I think it exposes a big gaping flaw in this influencer world where it's not just the greed, it's just this systemic failure of people to recognize their own lack of expertise. And it's so...
I disagree. I think there's a systemic issue of billionaires in the crypto space rug pulling the crypto markets, right? And people with genuine good intentions trying to build the space, trying to educate people in the space, getting scapegoated for others' clear fraud, which they should go to prison for, and they haven't. And that's the reality of where we're at, right? This guy is sat here making video about crypto YouTubers or financial YouTubers who, I'm not saying claiming do everything right. There's plenty of things I can say they do right and wrong. But he's there making videos about them. Make more videos about Do Kwon. Why are they not in prison? Why are they not being investigated? Make more videos about Suzu. Make more videos about Alex Mahinsky. Right? Make more videos about Voyager. Make more videos about these bad actors who have caused these billion-dollar downfall projects. This video should be about Sam Bankman-Fried. You've wasted 500,000 views in 22 hours. In 22 hours on people who aren't at fault for this, who did not rug pull the industry. Right? It's irrelevant. Whether it was FTX or whether it was another exchange on that platform, people need to use exchanges. Right? And we're going to share whichever exchange I use because whether we like it or not, when we're trading, people ask. And if they don't ask, they're going to see anyway on when we share our screen. Oh, that's the exchange he uses. I want to try that one out too. What you can educate and what you should be educating people on is diversifying. Diversifying between exchanges, diversifying between stable coins, diversifying your incomes, such that you're not relying on anyone, whether it's Bybit, BitGet, Coinbase, Binance. None of these are indestructible. You should be diversified in all of them. Be prepared for any given one of these and any given one crypto project and any given one stablecoin to collapse, because that's the state of the crypto space right now. That's the proper advice we should be giving. Not, oh, you can't talk about any exchanges.
Easy for charismatic geniuses to convince these people based on basically no evidence. Take, for instance, MeetKevin's seal of approval.
The guy's brilliant. He talks very fast, but he's brilliant, and I trust him and I like him.
Yeah.
Really? You know, I talk really fast. My brilliance is definitely up for...
Again, just bringing up arbitrary points. This is lazy. This is poor. I expect better, right? Because the reality is you're nailing these crypto YouTubers who, if you were to sum this up, drove less traffic to FTX and less signups than the naming of the Miami Heat Stadium, than the sponsorship of Tom Brady. So why are you going after these crypto YouTubers? Doesn't make sense, does it?
Hey, but do you trust me with all your money? Because you shouldn't. So it's just abysmal. And now that this has all come out, some of these guys are now coming out and apologizing, as they should. But is it enough? Because people like Stephan now has made a video about it. Basically, he said 24 hours before FTX US went bust, like, hey, maybe you should get your money off.
FTX US has been a sponsor here on the channel for the majority of the year. This one I did not see coming. I think it's pretty safe to say as a result of that, I'm no longer working with them. So if you hold anything on FTX US, you could still take it out and transfer it to an external wallet or wherever else you please.
But how many people saw this compared to almost a year of ads? Or take Tom Nash.
Again, completely disagree. It is not the responsibility of a marketing channel or a sponsor to know whether a company is going to go bust or not. To put this into perspective, this fraud was so well crafted and carefully constructed that inner people at FTX did not know about this, right? Staff were paid compensation and bonuses in FTT tokens. They were given vested equity, right? People in the know working on the software day in, day out did not know about this. And you think a crypto influencer was supposed to know about this? Right? That's what you think is so easy. And you didn't know about it either, by the way. So if you did, you would have made a video and you would have been genius. The only person that knew about this quick enough was BitBoy. He was the first to help figure this out. Right? So easy for you to come out here on your high horse when you didn't figure this out. I don't get what your messaging is.
Someone who's appeared on this channel, you know, he took a different approach and basically said, no one's...
Let's take this another way, right? Let's take sponsorships as something that's been going on for a very long time, right? Let's say a normal channel is sponsored by Apple, right? And they're using the iPhone and they're saying, guys, if you want to check out the iPhone, you can go get yourself an iPhone. And Apple go bust. Are you suddenly going to say these people are wrong because they're sponsored by them? or an athlete is sponsored by Under Armour or Beats by Dre. This happens all the time. Are they now to blame? No, because just like you're doing now, you're not making this video about Tom Brady. It was okay for Tom Brady to be sponsored by FTX, right? And that's the reality. That's what you're just picking on whatever suits the messaging you're trying to spread.
Lined up under him.
I think that you all deserve me to talk about FTX. I was working with them a few months ago for about 30 days. Somehow, during this whole month we were running the campaign, literally nobody signed up for FTX US. They called me and I was insulted in the beginning. And they said, look, Tom, we got to cut it short because we had like a 3-month plan to work together. And they said, look, we're stopping after 1 month because nobody's signing up from your channel.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that. At minimum, these are bad arguments. Like, no one signed up for me, or, hey, I gave you 24 hours notice. Like, it's just such an embarrassing standard for this industry.
But again, maybe I'm in the minority in this one. Maybe I'm completely left on this and I'm not understanding. But if these influencers did not know anything, how are they expected to expose? If they knew something, and if there was something within their ability to find out this data, then that is different. But what I'm trying to explain to you is outside of the inner circle of Sam Bankman-Fried, major investment funds did not know about this data, let alone a small-time influencer relative to the great scheme of things, right? Miami Heat Stadium couldn't figure this out. Mercedes sponsoring. The Abu Dhabi is in 7 days, right? They've got to rip off the stickers. Why didn't they know this if it's so easy for people to know? Why didn't these big conglomerates find this information out? This was a carefully crafted fraud, and you're trying to minimize it by not focusing the attention where it should be focused right now.
If you can even call it that, because it's just a bunch of basically random people giving their opinion about finance. And truthfully, I just think it's a big lesson, another lesson, the millionth.
Again, that's really unfair. I mean, you guys know me. I set up this channel because I hate the Moon Boys, right? I hate the ones who come out, they're not actually trading, they're making money purely off sponsorships, and they're not actually educating the space, right? They're just not doing anything for the space. Now, among some of the influencers he's referring to here, some of those provide amazing, great content. They do the research, they deliver the content, and they're actually adding value to people, right? Now, granted, much of their content might be useless, some of it might not be great, but there is education in there. So for you to say that is completely unfair when a lot of your content resides just on knocking people down, right? You're supposed to be building buildings. Build buildings, add value to the community instead of knocking everybody down, because it becomes really easy to be this whistleblower who's blowing the whistle everywhere, left, right, center, without actually taking the effort to make real good content. And I think that's what we're lacking here.
That you shouldn't be actually taking real advice from the people who you watch on these screens. They're entertainers and they don't know much more than you about what they're actually selling. Now, I will say one small thing in their defense, a lot of smart people did get fooled. BlackRock was an investor. Oh. And for you millennials, even Kevin O'Leary got caught with his pants down.
Number one, I'm an investor in FTX.
Whoa. This guy he just wasted 9 minutes of my time on this video. It's a 9-minute video. 7 minutes into the video, he finally says a bunch of smart people have been affected. But this whole 7 minutes, you're slamming influencers for taking sponsorships, for talking about FTX, the second largest exchange in the world, let me remind you, which, by the way, was completely solvent. It was because of Alameda and Sam Bankman-Fried's fraud of moving money from FTX to save Alameda, which they weren't sponsoring Alameda, right? And these major people like Kevin O'Leary, BlackRock, as you just said, Miami Heat, Mercedes, Sequoia Capital. Like, are you feeling okay?
International equity. Number two, I'm an investor in FTX US equity. Number three, I have accounts with FTX. I have capital there inside of my account. Obviously, like everybody else, I'm gated currently.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes. So you think an influencer who's nowhere near the net worth or connections or access to data that somebody like Kevin O'Leary has, and by the way, Kevin O'Leary is small fish compared to Sequoia Capital, Galaxy Digital, right? Mercedes. If he couldn't get access to that data, if he couldn't see that this was a clear scam, why are you bashing on influencers? Why? We know why, because it suits your narrative.
I guess it just shows how bad the advice out there was and how many people, so many of these financial experts were fooled and then made fools of themselves by promoting this junk. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is a company called Blockfi, which paused withdrawals yesterday. It looks like they're also going to be bankrupt.
Now, I just want to add here on Blockfi. The Blockfi situation is a little bit different. I mean, it's important that we add some caveat to this. Taking a sponsorship of Blockfi is a little bit different. I put this in the bucket of Celsius. right? And when you look at Celsius and Blockfi, I think it's okay here for influencers to understand that there's huge risk tied into here. And if you do look into Blockfi, if you speak to them, if you look into their balance sheet, similar to Celsius, you can see the same old cheating and the scheme seen in traditional finance, over-promising on yields, taking risk with customer funds. This would be a no-go for me. But to say the whole FTX saga, which is an exchange, which was completely solvent, which was doing a good job up until the point of lending Alameda money, then you understand that, that's just completely unfair. But this side, BlockFi, Celsius, these types of companies, you have an argument that you've got to do your research before suggesting some of these platforms to your audience.
And I just want to talk about the influencers who promoted them as well. Here's a few clips of what I'm talking about.
I have never taken on a paid sponsorship on my channel. Please use my link to sign up to this credit card. And even though I'm not contractually obligated to speak positively about them, don't forget to grab up to $250 worth of free Bitcoin using this BlockFi link right here. It would really help me out a lot.
We didn't touch on this at all, but the thing I'm most excited about for this year is the Bitcoin rewards credit card, which we're launching in the second.
Now this is just a lot more of the same junk. And once again, I mean, I would say this even more so. We have evidence that these people were just bad at predicting this stuff. They just had no idea what was going on. Because Andrei Sikh, for instance, said he keeps all his money on BlockFi, which just went under.
I keep most of my money, in fact, all of my crypto with BlockFi, both my Ethereum, my Bitcoin, everything.
Rip to your portfolio, my man.
Hey, I agree with that, right? Like, as a YouTuber with a big following, coming on and saying you're leaving all of your money on one platform, irresponsible, right? Never you'll see me say that. Always promoting diversification across exchanges, across projects. You guys know I'm heavy on that. Diversification across stable coins. That's the only way to build sustainable wealth here in crypto, in my personal opinion.
Now, I also want to say MeetKevin, I think, personally invested $420,000 into this platform, which cool number, I guess. So I think he also lost a ton of money on that. But I just think it's just a big lesson that you cannot take advice from these people. I know the parasocial relationship is there and you start to feel that maybe they know something, but a lot of them are Googling it like 5 minutes before they go live. Okay, that's the truth of it. And I just think a lot of these influencers themselves should take a hard look at themselves, because as much as it's ridiculous that anyone takes their advice, they actually do. And it's going to hurt a lot of people for a long time. So that's basically it. I just wanted to talk about this because I think it's so important and it involves a lot of the people I think a lot of my viewers might watch some of these people. So yeah, I just wanted to make a quick video on that.
Let's wrap this up. So look, he comes out, he makes this video targeting a bunch of influencers. And the reality is, I don't think he makes complete sense whatsoever. I mean, he sat here wearing Sony headphones. If based on this, if I'm an audience member who's been watching his content for a long time and go and buy Sony headphones and get electrocuted by them, is this now his fault? No, right? It's nonsense. So for him to say that by people sharing what they do, sharing the exchanges that they use, sharing the platforms that they use is wrong, then you're blowing up the whole sponsorship model. Nobody should take sponsorships anywhere in any industry. But unfortunately here in the crypto space, and I think what he's trying to get to, which he should be talking about, it's the pumps and dumps. Right? And then it's from that range of pumps and dumps, which are your blatant pumps and dumps. I've got a project, I've got this coin, pump it and make money, all the way up to even, I'd say, the BlockFi and Celsius type lending projects. Those are the ones where you cannot talk about those because people are going to get burnt, right? And I get that. That's completely different. But to take the number 2 largest exchange in the world and to be having a sponsorship from them or to be sharing the link in the description for them, I think that's completely wrong. Everybody here is using exchanges. Everybody here is looking to use exchanges, and it's no different to the Miami Heat naming the stadium FTX. Loads of people would have signed up because of that. Loads of people would have signed up for the Tom Brady. Loads of people would have signed up because the logo is on the Mercedes at F1, right? This is the reality of sponsorship. So for you to come out and make a video targeting these influencers, I think it's quite cheap. I think it's quite lazy. And more importantly, it takes away bandwidth and time, because this video I could have spent talking about the nitty gritty and doing some proper research into what was actually going on. But now I've had to take the time to respond to this because it actually irked me, right? So you should have been making a video about Sam Bankman-Fried. You should have done the research into Alameda. You should have called it out. If you're so clever and on top of your work as an investigative journalist, you should have found this out before. Why didn't you know about this before BitBoy? At least around the same time as BitBoy. Let's ask that question. Let's put the pressure on you to say, if it was so obvious and this generous billionaire was so obvious and you're claiming, because everybody's jumping on the bandwagon now, I knew about it, it was so obvious, of course you did. Right? If it's that obvious, why did you not make a video about that? Why is it now you're just targeting on influencers? The reality is you will include their face in your thumbnail. right? You want to include the face in your thumbnail and you want to attract from their viewership. And that's the reality of the model of your channel. So look, Coffeezilla, you've made some great videos in the past, but stuff like this is not going to cut it, so you had to get a rebuttal. Cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Smash up the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.